There is also the creation theory, that the original consciousness, or God, created things and gave it consciousness. If created, you may not have known of the past history and of the extent of capabilities, and would only have what was given to navigate surroundings. That theory doesn't make sense to a spirit being, because you'd have to be prodded to receive knowledge of self. That would mean that whatever was created wasn't conscious to begin with, but was something else fabricating consciousness, like a robot of today. But we know we do have unlimited potential, and that makes us whole parts of the true consciousness, not robots. Based on the fact that we currently are conscious beings, this would lead one to believe we had the knowledge and ability to create like gods before. Also, based off of the Illuminati tactics of trying to manipulate spirits in their transition period of death, which would be a full manifestation of the spirit, but ignorance of this leads some to be recycled to someone else's liking. I'd assume this is how many were put into this subjugated state, by agreement or buying a broken dream. So, in the case of that knowledge was stolen or hid from us after we had it at some point, I would declare that a wrong on the offender, even if the victim fell for the scam of manipulation and seemingly agreed to the consequences. Without the full story and an understanding of what is going to be gained and lost, this may seem as a conniving scheme to some. I can't think of anyone that would sell their soul or freedom for a dream that they can have without doing so. Judgment is that knowledge and ability will be restored to the victim. If you feel you are a created being after examining the evidence, then I think you shouldn't feel you have the right to knowledge of true consciousness as you never had it. But as a human creation, we do have it. Also, as human beings, we have a right to what we need to survive and feel comfortable and safe. Nothing should be created for torture unless to reciprocate and punish. But do believe we are more than human. Now, what if even though we may have had this knowledge and ability prior, offenses and other actions led to other spirits trying to subject our spirit to these results? When battling amongst gods in a universe where anything is possible, it would be hard for them to impose their will on other free spirits. So, unless a violation occurred, justification would have to be attained to gain the edge in conflict. We have created these ideologies and agreed upon certain things that contribute to spiritual warfare in the spirit realm. I don't want you to start thinking Star Wars on me, so I'll just leave it there. Without the monotheistic theory, I think it may have been pure chaos as spirits battled for supremacy. Although space is endlessly vast, not being around other conscious beings would be less eventful, while being around many may lead to clashes. So to punish a being may have taken great effort, skill, or cunning. So begins the case of when do we punish and how much punishment is necessary to suppress, subdue, or subside others' powers. With most or all at the peak of spiritual power, it must have been a great task to discipline wayward spirits. It may seem ludicrous to seek justification for your acts when already putting forth an effort trying to make justice. The best choice would seem to be that we wouldn't restrict any option in the name of justification to get justice across when it's hard enough already. But when you realize that dreams are based on beliefs, and beliefs on ideologies and theories and ideologies get power from rights, justification, and sometimes agreement, then you'll learn why it is good to act off a platform of rights. Besides, the secret societies mean to use justification as a cover for their actions, so it must have some power to it. To subdue or impose a punishment equal to or a little greater for compensating the act of the one inflicting the damages first is only or mainly to persuade the violating company not to do it again. Punishment just for satisfaction is just a concept without a practical purpose. If any restoration is due, it can be done so on the spiritual level by the offender or offended with ease. But to subside or suppress another is to ensure that the violation isn't committed again and should only be for extreme cases. For an idea of what I mean, I think the Libertarian political party's principle of non-aggression, where if what I do doesn't harm, threaten, or hinder you, you don't harm, threaten, or hinder me, that seems like the best model for laws and justice. If violations were more extreme, how long should a violator be suppressed? Is the threat of them reoffending higher or not? A lot of this is parallel with how we do justice in the natural world. The Bible states, "What's bound in heaven is bound on earth, and God made man in his image and likeness." Basically saying, as above, so beneath. The natural world is a limited version of the spiritual. For most people, if you think about our true nature and utmost potential, this may seem like a prison planet. What was the offense for spirits to be lowered to this state? I'll go to the Bible once again, since some secret societies and religions go hand in hand. One example was the angel Lucifer. He wouldn't bow to Adam in some accounts, and he desired to be like God in others. So disobedience and wanting to be powerful, those were the offenses that lowered his status to an earthly being. Doesn't sound very libertarian to me, but more authoritarian. But if you believe you are a created being, you should consider your creator's wishes. But as a free-thinking being with consciousness, whether you feel you're created or not, I think you are entitled to reach your fullest potential unhindered. If God was truly the almighty ultimate God, there would be no threat to that. Created beings wouldn't have to be stopped from doing something impossible to accomplish. Think about it personally. If we, the God of our own dreams, daydream about something or someone we just created in our minds, if this persona wants to kill us, is that any threat to us? No, it's just a dream. But if Satan did or could have gotten this power to threaten the throne, that would mean there's no ultimate God. That being the most known example of a fallen spirit, I'll use this as the bar to estimate the reasons eternal, immortal beings are seemingly stripped of powers, state of living, and sometimes knowledge of self, and subjugated to a position of dependency. I wouldn't justify those reasons as one to suppress one's ability just because you felt they insulted your superiority or respect, creator or not. So this knowledge would be owed to the suppressed if being right, moral, and just is their aim or justification. Now, for serious offenders, like the ones that violate the non-aggression principle and are a threat to the livelihood of others, being stripped of powers and oppressed may be the only way to keep peace and order in the spiritual realm, especially if a repeat offender. But if suppression is done by keeping the offender from knowing their true self and the state of their metaphysical surroundings, does that justify keeping it a secret? Yes, but if the offender overcomes these hindrances, efforts will probably be made to reapply those conditions. If other resolutions could be made, promises, pacts, etc., this would be another avenue out, but some would be wise to test if the words were going to be true. This is the state most on earth are in, lost as to true self, without a guide like myself to tell and show them. As we've seen from the earlier example, many reasons for being cast to this supposed prison planet may not balance the scales of justice. So we most likely have the moral high ground fighting for our justice and freedom. But some of us may have been offensive and violated somehow. Yet, how are we to know or believe when you were scammed into forgetting. When the non-enlightened human dies, then a theater takes place, and an illuminated one might come to you and sell you a story. Heaven, hell, ghost life, other afterlife, or start you over as a baby. But you are an immortal, eternal being of consciousness that can create and explore the universe for yourself. You just need to know that in the here and now. Unfortunately, many fall for the perpetual recycling of souls and restart their life in a new being like a MIB neuralizer, which is fake, losing knowledge of self to start over once again. Why do they do this? We found that in offending others, that's when they use their creativity and imagination in an offensive manner to get one lowered, whether justly or unjustly. Now they must free themselves from the limits of the natural world with or without help. This would be the mentality of most spiritually enslaved, unless you felt you sincerely deserved it based on the golden rule. Did you do unto others as they didn't want? Or better put, as you knew they didn't want? Then you may feel like a recompense is necessary. But if you did feel like that, I doubt punishment would be pursued. Most lawbreakers don't care for laws, rights, or justice, only strength and or respect. So they may deserve to be judged and inflicted by power alone. But one whose base is justification should still be justified in acts of punishment. I don't think too many in the natural or spiritual realm would accept harsh punishment just off of moral justification alone. So force should be considered justified when enforcing rights. As to when to apply force and how much force is necessary, that is circumstantial. In the vastness of the universe, we should all have an area where we can be around souls that share our ideologies. Then we could practice live and let live as a solution to chaos. Some may consider this world as such, but natural Earth is set up to keep us here as humans and not bother the rest of space. The Bible claims if mankind comes together, there's nothing they couldn't do. That would explain the lie of a limited life to gain knowledge and keep us from realizing our true potential. This writing will expedite that birth of knowledge to the masses. Are the ones with the most powers, skill, etc. honorable to others? I will hope so. But based on the little evidence we have of souls being sentenced to this state of being, it doesn't seem so. But maybe they are earnestly trying. You would have to be sharp spiritually to not be a victim, and that may lead to rash and hasty judgments to ensure you stay intact. Can you blame someone for a preemptive strike on a threat or conspiracy? There could be some scenarios where you'd be justified and some where you wouldn't. But I'm not saying this was the case for most of us, and from the stories of history, you would have no other way to believe the offense against you with certainty unless you consciously remembered your descent from a spirit being. But it seems we are tested here to be good or bad, but always brave, all to attain spiritual freedom from Illuminati harassment. As we see, the Masonic duality, positive and negative, light and dark, good versus evil, are in an eternal clash to produce purpose or whatever. But what if the ones who subjected us to this earth were only hell-bent on control and power? The test would only be to breed like spirits. To me, it doesn't matter because we can be free regardless and manifest our true self however we want. But if it is a ruthless, lawless adversary, we must be ready for that.